Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Story Nook. Go ahead and grab your water, your tea, your coffee, your hot cocoa, whatever it is you want. And today we're going to jump into malicious compliance, making sure everything is from the malicious compliance subreddit. It is. Let's go ahead and get started. We have 3 stories queued up for malicious compliance today, and hopefully it will be long enough for an episode, not too short. Our first story is posted by a user, MoonLover10792. You want a man to help you? No problem. One will clock in soon. This happened 16 years ago. When I was about 20 years old, I was a department manager in a big box hardware store. People said I acted 25, but I didn't even look 18. As a young female, I saw my fair amount of sexual discrimination, but the worst always came from women. This is the story of one such woman. I managed a paint department. I had 3 associates who worked for me. They loved me as a boss because I bought them a department radio. Took the shifts they didn't want, worked Friday close and Saturday mid so my 2 younger guys could have time to have fun on Friday nights, and the older gentlemen took early Saturday mornings so they could sleep off their fun. In trade, I gave the older gentleman his ideal schedule. My team was awesome. One day, I was in the department alone, and a lady came up and asked me where she could find the 5-gallon oil-based primer. I let her know that my location didn't carry the 5-gallon size of that primer. She told me that we did and said that it was shelved right there, while suggesting I was too stupid to remember. Her husband gave me an apologetic look. I let her know that another location had what she was looking for, and that it was in fact in that exact location in that store. She let me know how stupid she thought I was for thinking she could mix up stores. Then she began yelling and loudly insisting that I get a man out there to help her because she wanted someone competent and not a stupid little girl. Her husband actually tried to step in at that point, but I just smiled and let her know that a male paint associate would be clocking in any minute, and that I would be happy to direct her as soon as he is on the clock. I smiled and waited for Joe to clock in. Joe was great, and I knew he could handle this, or I wouldn't have put him in this situation. But Joe was also new. He was learning things super quick, but still relied on the rest of us for help. When I saw Joe walking up, I quickly said that there was a customer who needed help. I let him know that she was upset and asked him to do his best to answer her questions. Joe walked up to the lady. She said, "Finally, a man!" She asked her question, explained where the product should be, and waited. Joe calmly let her know that he had never seen us carry 5-gallon size of oil-based primer, but said he could check with the paint department manager. She was happy and loudly said she was happy to be getting some real help. Joe walked up to me and started to ask me about 5-gallon oil-based primers. The lady quickly walked up and asked him what he was doing. He turned and said, "This is my manager. She runs the department." The husband laughed out loud. The woman stormed off, and I bought Joe lunch. Hilarious. I love just like that pettiness of just like, fine. You want a man? He'll be in soon. I'll send him over here to help you. Just like, haha, fuck you, bitch. What do you get for being an ass? Our next story comes from Joe Mondo, titled, Deathbed Malicious Compliance. Give it all to her. Okay. My grandmother was an immigrant who had to leave school at about the age of 12 after her own mother died. As the eldest daughter, it was her responsibility to take care of her younger siblings. Consequently, she never learned more than basic reading and math, and although she married and had kids of her own, she worked outside the home to add to household income, often doing cleaning and other low-wage work. Of her own children, most were responsible people, But her youngest daughter was a complete parasite. She had no problem taking whatever she could get from her mother, my grandmother, even having her mother co-sign on debts and then leaving her to pay it off. Despite not having much education, my grandmother was a wise person in her own way, but not when it comes to her own kids, and especially not her mooch daughter. She just could not stop letting her daughter misuse her. She ultimately became ill with cancer. Her kids took care of her except for, you guessed it, the youngest parasite daughter. On her deathbed, she told her oldest daughter she was worried about the mooch, and relayed where she kept all of her money. It wasn't much, about $700 or so. And then she told her oldest daughter that when she died to give it all to the mooch. After my grandmother died, oldest daughter had to stomach giving her own mother's last dollars to her miserable vampire of a sister. But to make it more tolerable, she decided to do it by sending it in installments of $10 a month. So that's what she did for years. Just $10 a month. Every month. Not enough to splurge on anything, not enough to make a difference in her life, almost as if it were nothing. I always admired my older aunt. She knew how to hold a grudge. I love the older aunt. Think about it. Your sister has been a mooch and a parasite on your mom forever. And you're just like, I can't do this. But it is mom's last wish, but she didn't say I had to give it to her all at once, now did she? And that is the kind of petty I love. I personally have an entitled sister. She's a half-sister. And she mooches on so many people like it is fucking nothing. And it just fucking sucks. So I understand this. It's just a shame. But onwards to our next story. From user Eric Cartamins. Would you just do your fucking job? When I was 19 years old and a fresh high school, or my country's equivalent, graduate, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. The one thing I did know is that I needed money. So I started applying for all kinds of jobs. After a few weeks of writing applications, going to interviews, and waiting nervously for replies, I was hired as a full-time sales associate at an international company making smartphones and TVs and other electronic gadgets. Said company was in the process of opening their first official store in my country, and I, as I was hired about 3 months before they were due to open, helped them however I could. I created one-pagers, basically posters that show all the hardware inside a device plus a picture, translated manuals, put security tags on products, etc. Whatever they wanted me to do, I did, sometimes until late at night, still foolishly thinking that this initiative, would maybe be recognized in one shape or another. Alongside me, they hired 4 other people, 3 more sales associates and a store manager, all of whom were young and ambitious, just like me. The grand opening went very well. Business was booming for the first 2 weeks and everything seemed fine. That's where the problem started. First thing we realized we didn't have were guidelines on how to handle returns and warranty cases. As the company's electronics had been available online long before the store opened, some people now started bringing in their devices to get them fixed or swapped out, none of which we knew how to handle. This annoyed a lot of customers, being given the information that only devices brought at our specific store would be handled under warranty only made things worse for us. We were getting abused on a daily basis that ranged from curse words to death threats. Once we even had to call security because a customer was threatening us. This stress caused one of my colleagues to quit, understandably. This, as it turned out, was only the tip of the iceberg. Some of the other problems we had included having a break room with no access to fresh water, no fridge, no microwave, and of course, no bathroom. All big no-nos where I live. Resupply came in sporadically, at best. Sometimes we were resupplied twice a week, sometimes there were no deliveries for 3 weeks, making it very hard for us to tell our customers when our devices will be arriving. The store manager was so incompetent, he couldn't even finish our schedule 3 days in advance, although giving the schedule 2 weeks in advance is mandatory. One of my colleagues thought, fuck this, about a month after our grand opening and went on sick leave, which, where I live, basically gives you immunity from getting fired, so now we were 2 men down. The bosses upstairs apparently wanted us to provide tech support over the phone, which again, none of us were trained to do. We did our best, but only really ended up with more threats in addition to having our official store phone number constantly blocked by these calls, so we were expected to take over social media communications as well. Meaning we now had to answer questions on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., putting even more strain on our small team. In the end, the manager couldn't deal with the stress anymore and broke down about 2 months after opening. He even sought psychological counseling after quitting. While I was sad to see him go, I thought that now my time had come to prove myself. Oh, P, I don't think you wanted to prove yourself. I think you wanted to leave this place because they are treating y'all like you are 5 different teams in one and y'all are not, and that's a problem. I took over most of his duties, still only earning about half of what the manager made. Naively, I worked 60 to 70 hours weeks for almost 3 months straight, still thinking that this would somehow pay off. I don't think it will. They're abusing you. I made sure to tell my bosses how much more I did than we agreed upon in my contract, but they didn't seem to care, because they like free labor and you're giving it to them willingly. That is, until our sales figures dropped. All of a sudden, I had 2 of them come into the store unannounced, basically drag me into the back room and start lecturing me on how badly the store is performing. The conversation went like this. Boss 1. So why would you say that the store's sales performance has dropped so much since manager left? Me. Well, a lot of customers are unhappy with the way we... Boss 2. Our products are very competitive. Why are you still struggling to sell them? Me, slightly disgruntled. Well, sir, as I was trying to say, the customers are not happy with our service, and running a store with just 2 employees is almost impossible. If we could hire 2 more assistants, maybe we could focus better on our numbers? Boss 1. The interviews for those positions are ongoing. You will have new employees soon, but you were hired for a reason. So, what would you just do your fucking job? Me. Yes, sir. After that meeting, I felt defeated. Doing all this extra work, staying late, taking responsibility for things I had no business taking responsibility for, the threats, the uncertainty, the stress, the sleep deprivation, all for nothing. And that's when it clicked in my head. Fuck those guys. They wanted me to do my job? Fine. From now on, I would do exactly what my job description says. Nothing more, nothing less. As you should, OP. Stop giving these people free fucking labor. In all fairness, it took me like 3 fucking jobs to figure that shit out. Glad you figured it out within probably what sounds like 3 or 4 months. The next day, I came in early, opened the store, everything normal, until the first tech support call came in. I picked up the phone, and after listening to what the caller wanted, I told them that I was only a sales assistant and therefore not qualified to answer their question. Taking up the phone without saying goodbye, a postman came in with some special documents for the store manager, requiring a signature. I said, nope, sorry, not going to sign that, I'm not a manager. After being informed that these were court documents, and need to be signed for immediately, I just shrugged and said, not my problem, just doing my job here, man. Later that day, my colleague had arrived. We got a delivery of new product for the store. The delivery guy handed me the manifest asking for a signature. Again, I declined, stating that I was just doing my job and the manager would have to sign that. After making it clear to him that there wasn't a manager on site, he left, taking all the new product with him. Product which we desperately needed. But I was beyond caring at this point. About 15 minutes later, I got a call from Boss 1 asking me why no one had signed for delivery. I told him that there was no manager on site. Nobody there was allowed to sign for that document. After a few choice words, he hung up the phone and I went back to work, chatting with customers and generally not caring about anything. Half an hour later, Boss 1 and Boss 2 descended upon me. Hey.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry?
I left my quesadilla over in the fridge, but I'm over here. Like, by the time I got to the car, it's like, I can't wait to eat my quesadilla.
Do you want to go back and get your quesadilla?
I really don't want to go back in the building. But, I probably should so I don't, eat on the way home. Even though right now it's going to be kind of hard. Actually, you want to drive? It's early enough.
Can I finish recording this video first?
Oh, you're still doing that? Okay.
Yeah! I didn't turn this shit off. You just got in. I was going to continue. I do, however, have to pause YouTube. So that music, I will cut all of you out, but I love you. Okay. Half an hour later, Boss 1 and Boss 2 descended onto me. They rushed into the store, demanding an explanation for my behavior. I simply replied, "I'm just doing my job, sir, just like you asked me to do." Boss 1, "What the fuck do you mean? Then why has no one accepted today's delivery or the documents we've sent you?" Me, "Well, that's the manager's job." "I'm not a manager." Boss 2, "Yes, you fucking are. What the hell are you talking about?" Me, no. Not only would my pay be pretty poor for all that work I am doing, my contract clearly states that I am a sales associate, and as such shall only fulfill duties related to that position. You're gonna go get your quesadilla?
Yeah.
Alright. I will see you soon.
I was just gonna go after you, but I was like, no, I got a quesadilla.
Yeah, get your quesadilla. Boss 2, and who the hell is supposed to do the manager job if not for you? Me, "I don't know, but I would gladly do it. If you doubled my salary, of course." Boss 1, actually laughing in my face. "Who the hell do you think you are? We can have you replaced with someone cheaper in a heartbeat." Me, "Okay then, go ahead. I quit, effective immediately. Bye." And then I just left. My remaining colleague, upon hearing me quit, also quit immediately, leaving our former bosses wide-eyed with no employees to run their store. I had also taken the liberty of informing the Board of Health and Labor about our working conditions, as well as getting myself legal counseling for some issues related to bonuses not being paid out. The store ended up having to completely shut down for about 2 weeks until they had a skeleton crew back together to run it. The kicker? About a month after I quit, and with my lawsuit for unpaid wages now pending, I got a call from Boss 1 telling me he wanted to accept my offer for doubling my salary to become the store manager. He said no one was willing to take the job now that word got around and how awful things are in the store. The following conversation ensued. Me, "Frankly, Boss 1, I use his first name here, just to piss him off, "I don't much like getting laughed at, so I'm afraid if you want me to come back, you're gonna have to quadruple my initial pay." Boss 1, "What? Are you insane? We can't afford that. How are we supposed to?" Me, "I don't give a fuck, Boss 1. I really don't. But I've got an idea. How about you pull your head out of Boss 2's ass and just do your fucking job?" Click. Edit. Wow, Reddit Gold, thank you so much, kind strangers. And this story is wonderful. I'm gonna have to edit my husband returning, but I love how OP's just like, you know what, this ain't worth what I'm getting paid, not worth a damn thing. And so they're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do my job. When they come in here complaining that I'm just doing my job as stated in my contract, fuck you, I'm gonna quit. As you should, 'tis your right. But thank you all for being here for this wonderful stories of malicious compliance. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hit all the buttons if you want to see more. And remember to stay hydrated. Bye bye!